I want to talk now about conciseness. Conciseness is defined as expressing much in few words. Now, what does that mean? What that means is, even though sometimes you have as much room as you want when you're writing and you can say as much as you want, there are other times when you need to say just as much and have a lot of meaning, but pack it into only a few words. That's what being concise is all about. Now, I'm going to show you some things that can help you make your writing more concise. So let's start by talking about redundant words. Redundant words are words that are not necessary. And a lot of writers do this. They're trying to emphasize something, but what they're really doing is putting in words that are not necessary. Let's look at some examples here. If somebody says something's large in size, well, of course it's large in size because large is a measurement of size. Or if they say it's red in color, well, red is a color, so you don't have to say it's red in color, you can just say it's red. Or how about if you said two ingredients should be combined together? Well, how else would you combine something? You can't combine ingredients apart, so of course they have to be combined together. Saying those extra words is redundant. You can take them out, no meaning at all will be lost, and in fact, your writing will be much, much stronger. So eliminating redundant words is a good way to bring conciseness to your writing. What else can we do? We can eliminate empty words. Now, by empty words, I mean those words that don't contribute anything or contribute so little to a sentence that you don't even need them. This is going to include nouns like area, kind, situation, and thing, as well as those vague modifiers like definitely, major, really, and very. Now you have options here. You can just take those words out completely, or look for a more specific way to say what you mean. And this is when it really comes down to choosing exactly the right words. Now I know you guys have heard me talk a million times about how important word choice is when you're writing. Conciseness proves that point. Choosing the exact word that says precisely what you mean is very important if you're going to be concise. Now, let's look at this little chart I made. This is a chart about replacing wordy phrases. Now, there's a lot of phrases that people use. We all do. But we can reduce those down to just a word or two, and we don't lose any meaning at all. For example, if you say at all times, it just means always. Always is a much more concise way to say the very same thing. If you said at that point in time, what you really mean is then. So you don't have to use 5 words. 1 is totally sufficient. You could say at the present time. That's the same thing as now, or today, or maybe tonight if we're talking about a different time of day, but you understand the point. You could say due to the fact that, well, that's only the word because. Not cause, C-A-U-S-E, or C-U-Z. That's a whole different thing. That goes into slang. But you can easily replace the phrase due to the fact that with the one word because. How about if you said for the purpose of? Why don't you just say for? What about in order to? Just say to. I'm taking this class in order to be a better writer. I'm taking this class to write better. That's all you have to say. Look at this one. This one's got a lot of words. In spite of the fact that can be easily replaced with one single word, although. And finally, the last thing on my list here, in the event that can be replaced so easily by the word if. 2 little letters can replace that entire phrase. So that's about replacing wordy phrases. It's another way to help you get concise. Sometimes, if you simplify your sentence structure, not down to where it sounds elementary or sounds like you're a little kid or you're not a strong writer, but just taking out all the extra stuff that's really not adding anything to what you're saying. So look at the simplest grammatical structures because sometimes those can tighten and strengthen your sentences. Let's look at some examples of what I mean. Use strong verbs. When you use be verbs, is, am, are, was, were, being, been, you have to add a lot more words. Choose a strong action verb and you're automatically going to cut down on the words that you need and your writing will be more concise. Then the next one, number 2, says avoid expletives. What this is phrases like there is, there are, and it is. Sometimes those can be used to introduce a topic very effectively. Most of the time, though, you can leave those out and your writing will be better off. And third, this kind of ties in with number one, use active verbs. Anytime you use passive voice, it's always going to take more words than using active voice. So if you are a little confused about passive and active, go back and watch the video over passive and active voice to help you remember the differences between those two things. Active voice is always going to make your writing stronger. So conciseness, very important in writing when you need to say a lot in a little bit of room. So remember these things and your writing will be much more concise and a lot more interesting to read.